Update. Am I the a-hole for me, 22, female, unplugging the internet when my boyfriend, 23, male, was playing a game? Original story. I'd cooked a dinner for my boyfriend and I had called him several times. He didn't respond, so I was like, what the hell, and went to find him and bring his dinner to him. He was playing Call of Duty or Halo and said he didn't hear me. I was like, alright, here is your dinner. And then I handed it to him and he just looked at it and said, I didn't want mac and cheese, I said chicken nuggets and fries. I said, sorry, but if you had listened when I got back, you would have heard that the store was all out of nuggets. He then threw the plates with the food on it in a set of drawers. I said, seriously? What is wrong with you? And he just said he was annoyed because I just made him die in the game by distracting him. And he was already mad about having mac and cheese. I said, if that's gonna make you angry, you shouldn't be playing while eating. He just said whatever and carried on playing. So I went downstairs and turned the router off while I ate. He came storming down asking what the hell I had done. I said if you can listen to me, you shouldn't be playing games when I'm trying to do stuff. He said I can't turn the internet off because it pays for it. So I said he just wasted food. He says I should have told him they were out of nuggets and waited for him to be done on the game instead of turning it off. I think he's being unreasonable, especially after he threw the plate, but his mom and my mom are siding with him. They say I shouldn't have turned the internet off, and I am thinking they're completely missing the point. So was I wrong to do that, or should I have done something different? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Everyone sucks here. Your son is being pretty immature and volatile, but as his mother, you're responsible for responding calmly and in a mature fashion so that he learns better behaviors. I don't know. I'd react more strongly than this to my 6-year-old son if he threw a plate of food I had made into the furniture. Obi just taking his toy away was pretty calm. Not the a-hole. Leave. Leave now. This is not going to get better. The fact that his mother and your mother are siding with him shows that he has been raised to believe this is acceptable behavior. He is disrespectful and rude. He places his game playing above real life. He has anger issues. He eats like a toddler. If you stay and end up having children with him, you will be struggling the whole time to get him away from the screen and helping you. You will expose your children to him blowing up at them for interrupting his games. Apologize and tell him he can game all weekend and you won't interrupt him at all. He'll be so busy he won't hear you as you pack your things into your car. Might not even notice you're gone till it's time for a diaper change. Dump him. He's throwing things. He's screaming. He's tattling on you to mommies. He's immature and he sounds utterly miserable to live with. I get him maybe being snappish for a second because he was focusing, but throwing things is never okay. It's a sign of someone who doesn't have their anger in check and frequently escalates into violence. A very soft everyone sucks here because you retaliated like that with a service that isn't yours. Don't provoke him. Just dump him. Everyone sucks here. You eat like 5-year-olds. You fight like siblings. And then you run off and tell your respective moms? Grow up. He told our moms first. They both messaged me and asked why I did it, so I tried to explain and they were taking a side. Now for the update. Thank you to everyone that helped me see that what he did was really not right. I had wondered why my mom and his would side with him too. And after speaking with my mom, I found out he had been bad-mouthing me before this and had told her a different story to what really happened. He told her he had been at work all day and got home, and I was instantly aggressive and turned the internet off and said no games or food. I don't know why she would believe that, but whatever. He had been playing the game for 8 hours straight that day up to that point. Anyway, I left him and moved back with my mom. For now, I am in the process of moving all my belongings, but I have the most important stuff. He has been texting me, begging me to come back because he misses me, also because he can't cook. I saw McDonald's wrappers all over the floor when I went to get some of my clothes. He also posted a video to Facebook of his crying saying I took everything, and I am a witch. His mom is still siding with him. She has been harassing me in messages for mistreating her son. She says how dare I leave him. First, she tried to guilt trip me by saying how will he clean and cook by himself. And when that didn't work, she started threatening and sending abusive messages. I feel much better though. I didn't realize how much of a strain he had put upon me. So once again, thank you to everyone that helped me out. If you are so horrible and terrible to her baby boy, why is she mad that you left him? Other than the fact that I guess now she'll have to take care of him? Block him and his mother. Yeah, absolutely. I would text her, if I'm so terrible for your son, why are both of you hounding me to come back? And then block her. Edited to add, I think you would have gotten fewer everyone sucks here's if you had said in the original post that he had been gaming for 8 hours straight. There seem to be a lot of gamers trying to explain how rude/useless it is to distract people while they are gaming, but how long is someone supposed to wait to interact with a partner? Those are immature gamers. As a gamer and the wife of a gamer, those are BS excuses. It doesn't matter how long he was gaming, but those people would not have cared about that detail. Can't imagine what it would be like to wake up in your 50s and have your teenage children come across a video you made in your 20s, crying that your girlfriend left you because you can't cook or clean for yourself. At the rate it's going, it's doubtful he'll find a girl desperate enough to have kids with him, so that's not likely to happen. Just a suggestion, don't go over to get your stuff alone. He doesn't exactly seem stable. Thanks. You're right, I didn't think about the dangers of that. If you don't have a big, bulky male football-playing friend, or two, you can call the police non-emergency line for an escort. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for firing the wedding planner after she kept ignoring me and only talked to my fiancé and her mom? I'm sorry if this is hard to read. I had a couple of drinks and not in my best state. So my fiancé, female 26, and I, male 28, are getting married soon. We both wanted a nice wedding, but had different ideas but not too much money. My mother-in-law said she has a great wedding planner for us, who's a friend of hers, and we went to see her a few times. Last week, she, my fiancé, her mom, and I began discussing venue/rentals/menu/invitations, etc., etc. The wedding planner kept talking to my fiancé and her mom, and all questions/suggestions were directed at them both while I was sitting there being ignored. They talked venue and guest lists, and the wedding planner did not stop to consult me or ask for my opinion. I disagreed on a number of things, but I was either interrupted or ignored by the lady. I finally snapped, stood up, and told her thank you, but I disagree on everything they agreed on, and told her to cancel all arrangement. My fiancé and her mom asked what's wrong with me. I told them I felt like I was being put aside and left out of any decisions/arrangements despite being the groom and the one paying. My mother-in-law warned me not to turn into a groomzilla and ruined progress they made just because he wasn't included in a thing or two. I flat out said to hell with it, and that will no longer be working with her. I will hire another wedding planner who can treat me like my opinion matters. In other words, I fired her. Both mother-in-law and my fiancé kept arguing in the car on our way home, and my fiancé said good job doing to her what the planner did to me by disregarding her opinions and sending her to square one in wedding planning and costing them money. Mother-in-law was livid that I treated her friend like dirt. I argued back that lady could have included me in at least 1 or 2 arrangements, but didn't. We got at my in-law's house, and my brother-in-law and father-in-law laughed at me for sulking like a kid and witching about stuff that only brides care about. Brother-in-law said he never dreamed of trying to do the childish crap I pulled when he was getting married, called me soft, and told me I should have kept my mouth shut and gone with the flow. Instead, I now made my fiancé and her mom angry, which is a major mess up. I told them both off and went out to smoke. My fiancé says I ruined wedding planning and damaged her mom's relationship by being rude to her friend. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. But it seems your fiancé also agrees that you shouldn't have a say and just be the pocketbook. I would talk with her and say exactly what you feel. And if she continues to downplay or show you that she doesn't want your input on the wedding, tell her in no uncertain terms that there will be no wedding. If I don't get a say and respect in this, there will not be a wedding. This is my celebration as well, and I have a voice and deserve to be heard. If they can't agree about a wedding, have they discussed children? Any? How many? How they will be raised? How about finances? Where they want to live? What type of home? And so many other things. In the whole scheme of things, a wedding is such a small portion of their life. And if his future wife dismissed his opinions and feelings on his wedding too, will she do the same for the rest of their lives together, or will he always be the pocketbook? If these questions have not yet been discussed and agreed on, then the whole wedding planning needs to be put on hold. Marriage is a partnership, and their wedding should be a celebration for their union, not a source of a major conflict between them. They need to discuss everything and go forward together as equal partners, or this marriage is doomed to fail before it even begins. Not today, Hall. Don't worry, the mother-in-law and wife will make all the decisions. Not today, Hall. Honestly, get out now. Why would you make yourself miserable for as long as this marriage is going to last? And if you have kids, you will be dealing with this for the rest of your life. You deserve better than this. Not today, Hall. It's not just your fiancé's wedding. It's your wedding too. The fact that they tried to do things without you is unfair to you. I think y'all should hire a wedding planner that will talk to you both and not just one or the other. Why even let him come with you to the meeting? Did they just want a free ride? Not today, Hall. Plus getting major red flag vibes from both the fiancé and future mother-in-law. When my wife and I were planning out our wedding, we used a similar concept to baby naming. The 2 yes, 1 no philosophy. Both had to agree to any major aspects, but only one no was required to veto something. Yes, we butted heads a few times. Who doesn't? But ultimately, it was a lovely and very memorable day. Not today, Hall. So why are you two getting married? Because you're surrounded by a-holes. I get my ring back, walk out the door, and keep going. Agreed. Does he think this behavior is gonna stop with the wedding? Wait for the kids thing and why aren't you having more kids thing? Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for paying off my fiancé's student loan debt but not my sister's? Didn't realize this would become an issue until it was. So I, 28 male, have been with my fiancé, 29 female, since we were in high school. Almost 12 years. She has been my rock, and I wouldn't be there where I am today if it wasn't for her. She was with me through my drinking problem despite the messed up things I did, and basically being a lost cause. Then supported me while I tried to get sober. When I went back to school, she kicked my butt into gear to get my bachelor's. Now I'm working a full-time office job and earn the type of living I never thought I would. I really wouldn't have made it where I am if it hadn't been for her unwavering support. I made an investment in an old property a buddy of mine owned that we fixed up and earned a decent profit off it. So just to finally give her a really big thanks for always being my biggest supporter, I decided to surprise my fiancé and gave her the amount she needs to pay off what she owes. She was really happy and relieved over it. And honestly, I was glad to be doing something huge for her. She made a sweet post about it on Facebook, and that's how my sister found out. She even commented, "Wow, didn't think of your own sister, brother?" My fiancé showed me the comment and we both thought she was joking around. A few weeks later, she comes by our place. Turns out she was in fact bothered by the whole thing. Yes, in the past she's talked about how much of a struggle it is sometimes keeping up with bills. And so to her, it would have been nice to be thought of too, since she has her own student loans to pay off. It turned into a whole thing with her, and I'm unsure if I'm the a-hole. Because honestly, she didn't cross my mind at all when I decided on doing it, despite the fact that she has brought it up in the past. My fiancé has paid off what she owes already, so it's not like we can split it and give my sister a cut as well. The amount left was put into our baby fund. So she's even more mad that I just didn't think about her at all when it came to my gift. She thinks I was thoughtless, and simply didn't care to do her this favor, so that's why she thinks I was a a-hole brother. I just wanted to check in here to ask if she's right. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. It's your money and no one else can tell you what to do with it. I honestly find it pretty bizarre that she would expect you to pay for that. You're not her parent. Also, it's a gift. Opie gets to decide to whom he wants to give a gift and to whom not. She can't/shouldn't demand gifts from anyone. It's a very entitled reaction. If you have to ask for something, then it ceases to be a gift. It becomes a demand. It's also his fiancé. They're about to combine their wealth and debts. It's almost paying off his own debt. Not today, Hall. Your fiancé got you through a really rough time. Neither of you having debt is good for your financial future as a couple. Money your fiancé earns can now be focused on spending for things like a place to live, retirement savings, children, etc. Your sister is not entitled to your money. I'd add to this list. Living debt-free for a time enables you to help friends and family later, if you so choose, without negatively impacting your own momentum. Not today, Hall. Is your sister serious? Your fiancé has been with you through thick and thin, supported you through hard times and got yourself up. And now look at yourself. Congratulations! You did work too, and you can spend your money any way you see fit. You don't owe your sister a dime. She can work and pay off her student loans herself. Marry that fiancé ASAP. She's the one. Not day hole. Info. Do your sister and fiancé get along? If they don't, maybe it's a jealousy issue. You are starting a life with your fiancé. Her debts would become your debt. It's way better investment for all of you to pay off debt that is going to affect both of you in the long run. They've never had any issues and get along fine. Honestly, that didn't come to mind when I thought of the gift. But good point. It'll still be a while until we're actually married. Am I the a-hole for refusing to buy my husband an expensive car, even though I have the money? My husband, male 35, and I, female 30, have been married for the past 10 years, and we have 5 amazing daughters together. Because of that, I dropped out of college and have been a stay-at-home mom for the past 10 years when we had our oldest daughter. My husband is the breadwinner, and I take care of all the chores and childcare. While my husband earns quite a bit of money, which allows us to live comfortably, he is also obsessed with budgeting. Thus, I typically only have enough for household expenses. For the past 5 years, I have been working on a series of books. I have been writing everywhere I could. 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, and while I sacrificed a lot of sleep, I have managed to finish my series, unbeknown to my husband. I kept it a secret because he always considered it a waste of time. It was tough, but I managed to get an agent and was incredibly lucky to get a deal to have my series published. I was ecstatic. And when they told me how big my advance would be, I almost fainted. It's much more than I expected for a first-time deal, like in higher 5 digits. I haven't told my husband yet that I had to borrow money from my sister to get an accountant. Ideally, I want that money saved up should something happen because I honestly don't know the details of our home finances or for our kids' future, whatever will be needed. Plus, I would love to have some spending money without asking my husband Greg. However, Greg found my contract, and he is now demanding I get him a new car for Christmas. A very expensive new car, which cost the majority of my advance. I politely refused, saying that he didn't need a car that expensive, and that money was supposed to be saved up. I tried to explain my position, but he wouldn't have it. He basically called me an a-hole without actually using the word. He said that because he supported me all these years, I owe him, and without him and his money, I wouldn't be where I am now. He's told me that I either buy him a car or I have to start paying for household expenses half and half. The thing is, I would still be a stay-at-home mom, and I don't know if my book will be a success. For all I know, this will be the only money I will ever get from my book deal because it will flop. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to buy my husband a car even though I have the money? Now for the top comments. Everyone sucks here. You have lived off his money for years, but you keep your own income a secret? Yeah, you're the a-hole. Mind you, he is definitely the a-hole too for demanding an expensive car and the way he spoke to you. But why would his money have to go to the household and your money to you? I wanted to work, but he insisted I was stay-at-home mom. I was going to come back to work when all our kids are in school, but he kept wanting more children, which kept pushing me further from coming back to work. I never wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, but it was his dream, and with so many kids, it was only reasonable. I don't have access to our main account. I don't even know how much he earns. I only thought it's fair that I kept my money aside, because I know very well that he has his own savings account separate to our main money. OP, everything you've said here is alarming, and points towards abusive behaviors. Do not give him a dime of your money. And please, have a hard think on whether this is the way you want to continue living your life. I know you have 5 kids together. I get it, and understand. A 10-year marriage is a long time to throw away, but I was married to someone for years who mentally and emotionally mistreated me. He demanded that I hand over all of my money to him and would never let me have a dime. He told me my money was his to do what he wanted with it, threw away all of his money on drugs and God knows what else. It even controlled the finances and hid them from me, while he paid none of the bills and lost every place we tried to live in, forcing us to constantly be evicted. I wanted to get a job at a time but couldn't, because he took the only vehicle we had at a time and never allowed me to go anywhere, not even with him because he was too busy meeting up his drug buddies and wanted to keep it a secret. Your situation is not as extreme, but your husband is also abusive. He is controlling and entitled. He is extremely critical of you and doesn't respect your life goals or even any of your wishes. Even worse, he ridicules your hopes and dreams. And now that you succeeded at doing something he said you could never do, he is now demanding that you spend the money on him. You are being manipulated. There is no doubt about it. You're also being blackmailed and punished by being told you'll face serious consequences if you don't give him what he's demanding. I would not buy him a car. You do not owe him a thing. The only thing you owe him is to pack suitcases for you and your kids and to demand you either straighten up or I'll leave. Not the a-hole. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my girlfriend she should have asked me to move in? My girlfriend, 26 female, and I, 27 male, have been together for just over a year. She'll be graduating in January from graduate school and has a well-paying job lined up. Her parents bought an apartment years ago as an investment property, and she'll be living in it and taking over the mortgage. It's a very spacious 2-bedroom that will be a total of $2,300 per month, which average in our area. It's pretty pricey and costs over half of her monthly income, so I was concerned about her living there alone. This is when I suggested that I move in. It's a great space, and we would have our own rooms, and would get to live together, and she would be able to have a more affordable rent. I currently live by myself, and my rent is $2,000 a month, so it would help me too. So basically, win-win-win. She said she's always lived at home, and so she wants to be by herself before deciding if she wanted to live with anyone else for a while, and not to worry about it and should figure it out. I thought maybe her parents would help out with the rent, and I dropped it. Then last week, she told me about how she was excited to move in soon, and then told me she'd gotten a roommate and they'd been furniture shopping together. Her roommate is a girl she completed grad school with. Obviously, I was hurt. I offered to move in first and we're dating, which I think means more than a classmate. I also said how having a roommate is not very be by herself of her. She said she thought we were too early in our relationship to live together, and living with a partner is different from living with a friend. I think she's just making excuses for blindsiding me. I said she should have at least considered me and that I was hurt that she put a friend above me, when I honestly and genuinely try to help her. I've kinda accepted that she's moving in with her classmates, and I've been cordial about it so she can be excited about this move and her new job. But I'm still hurt. Am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole. You're dating. You aren't married. She has stated outright she's not ready to live with a boyfriend. You can be hurt as you're entitled to your feelings, but at the same time, do you really want to force something on her she isn't ready for? Also, living with a friend is massively different than living with a romantic partner. It just is. That you don't get that is a little red flaggy. I mostly agree with you, but she did initially tell him she wants to be by herself, not she's not ready to live with a boyfriend. I would understand why he's upset that she would then get a roommate, because that's definitely not the same as being by herself. But I completely agree that living with a partner is a completely different beast than just having a roommate. And Opie needs to realize that. My guess is that it was just simple miscommunication with her initial comment. It could just be a matter of phrasing though. I moved out on my own from my mom's place when I went to college, but I still had roommates. She could have meant she wanted to live with not family/partner before making that commitment. Learning how to live with a roommate will also better prepare her to live with a partner down the line. You're the a-hole. You're attempting to emotionally manipulate someone into taking a romantic step they explicitly said they aren't ready for. Asking to move in when you weren't invited was already borderline. Pretending to be blindsided that your girlfriend doesn't want you to move in after she clearly communicated that is ridiculous. You were not entitled to live in your girlfriend's home. You keep saying you were trying to help? I don't buy that at all. Why are you so upset that she doesn't need your help? Agreed. He's trying to help himself to her spacious apartment, less rent, and pushing her boundaries on living with a partner. I don't see him lasting much longer with his cordial attitude. You're the a-hole. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my boyfriend he needs to move? For context, I, 30 female, have been dating my boyfriend, 31 male, going on a year. When we first met, he let me know that he is divorced with 3 children, 6 male, 4 female, and a stepson, 8 male that he considers his son. He also let me know his situation was unique and he was okay if I didn't want to continue dating. Him and his ex-wife are great friends. They simply got married too young and realized they were different people. Neither wanted to split custody, so they turned their home into a duplex. That way they could both see the kids every day, and if his son wanted to see him, he could just come over. I cannot have children, and he explained he would not have more. Although it was a unique situation, he is a great guy, so I kept it going. Now a year in, he still is a great guy and I love him. However, I can't help but feel like I'm on the side of the real family. The ex still comes to all the holidays. The kids knock and can come in whenever. One of the kids is not really even his, but still has open access to him. I think now that we're serious, things need to change. I suggested a move so that we can maintain a life outside of the family, and he can move on. Well, he blew up and called me an a-hole for suggesting it. He said he isn't and never will be a weekend dad. But I'm just trying to look out for us and start our family. My sister agrees I'm the a-hole, since he was upfront. But am I really? Would having him move out really be an a-hole thing? Now for the comments. Isn't your role be the romantic partner? Did you want to be his daughter too? No, I want to be family. I want to come up with holiday traditions, or be going to his mom's house. But his ex still does that, and I feel like a side piece. Info. Do you and his ex get along? Why can't you all spend holidays together? We tolerate each other. As far as I know, she doesn't mind me. I get the impression she doesn't really care about me at all. And I can be there. But then I'm at her house with her kids, doing her traditions, and it feels like I'm with her husband. I feel like you're the a-hole here. You knew his situation going into this. It works for them, so there's no reason to move. You feeling outside of family is a you issue. It doesn't mean you need to separate him from his kids. From reading your comment, you feel outside of family because you don't like their parenting arrangements. Well, guess what? He was parenting these kids long before you came into his life. He'll still be parenting them after you leave. It actually sounds like they have an amazing arrangement, and it certainly wouldn't stop you having a life together if he didn't move. Because they still operate as a family other than romantically. I feel like I'm only feeling the romantic part, but he has his family. One of the kids is not really even his. You're the a-hole. Wow. Right? I hope he sees this and leaves her. You're the a-hole. His kids are already his family. And if you want to be a part of it, then you're gonna have to accept the kids. From the way it sounds, you didn't ask him to move in with you. You asked him to move away from his kids. Last story. Am I the a-hole for abandoning my wife on Christmas to be with my grieving friend? This gets brought up in every single argument we have, so I'd like an outside verdict to settle it once and for all. My wife and I, 29 male, choose to spend Christmas with my in-laws last year. Because they live a few states from us, we don't get around to seeing them in person very often. We both took time off work and flew in the week before the 25th. It wasn't my dream way to use my personal time off or spend holidays, but it was valuable family time for my wife that we hadn't gotten in a while. 2 days after we arrived, I got a heart-wrenching call from my closest friend, 26 male, telling me that his father likely wasn't going to make it. I knew he had been in the hospital for a while, but now it looked like things were taking a turn for the worst. This is someone I've known since I was 16, whose family I'm closer to than my in-laws. This is also a person who is extremely selfless and rarely asks for anything for himself. When he asked me to come be with him, I dropped everything to make that happen. There's no limit on what I would do for him on a good day. So in circumstances like these, coming home felt like the only option. Flights around that time aren't always easy to come by, and the one I booked was fairly expensive. In my rush to get home as quickly as possible, I ended up booking the ticket under mine and my wife's shared bank account. Once I realized this mistake, I immediately transferred money from my account to cover it. My wife was not happy about any of it. She begrudgingly offered to come with me, but I declined, saying the most of my time would likely be spent in a hospital waiting room. I didn't want her to be at home alone during the holidays, or awkwardly standing by a comforted friend. I reassured her that I would be back before the 25th, and that she should continue her family time as usual. That didn't end up happening. Friend's father passed the following day, and with grief, funeral preparations, and a lack of viable flights, I didn't end up going back to be with my wife and her family. Me missing Christmas has gotten thrown in my face a lot since then, and it always makes me uncomfortable. I know I hurt my wife, but sometimes it's difficult for me to sympathize with her in this situation when my friend was going through the worst time of his life. Am I the a-hole? Why did you promise you'd be back by Christmas? The dad was dying, right? But you thought you'd leave, spend a day flying home, a day with your buddy, a day flying back, and that was enough? Honestly, it sounds implausible that you'd fly out a week before the 25th, spend 2 days, then a day of travel there and a day back, and anticipate you'd have the perfect flight available for returning without checking. Did you honestly think you could make this work? It was more of a platitude than anything, I'll admit. I had a flight to catch and was expected to give an answer about when I'd make it back before I could go. I didn't have those answers yet. Yeah, that's the problem. You lied because you were too scared to be honest, and your wife is still angry. Unless you are currently writing from your in-laws' home where you returned for a do-over, you're the a-hole. Must be tough liking your friend more than your wife, and his family more than yours. I wouldn't say it's tough liking his family more than my in-laws. All family dynamics are complicated, and who we get along better with is because of a lot of different factors. My life and his life have been so entwined over the last 10 plus years that it just makes sense in my mind. His little brother feels like my little brother. His parents feel like my own, etc. You're the a-hole. You didn't want to spend Christmas with your wife's family and used the aftermath as an excuse. If it was really because of flights, you wouldn't have added the rest. I hope you're spending this Christmas with your wife's family to make up for it. Yes, exactly. In fact, I'm sure he was behind his best friend's father's death just to get out of spending Christmas with her family. This is really reaching. Nowhere is it stated that he has any issues with or wants to get away from her family. First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for making my mom feel like a bad mom and telling her off for leaving? I, female 18, have 2 little sisters, 15 and 16. My mom had an affair when I was 14, which caused my parents' divorce, and she later remarried her husband. He has a hell of a lot of kids, 7, 8, 10, 12, and 13. My mom never even gave us a chance to get to know them or anything. We were just forced to move into a bigger house and call them family. I still live with my mom. Due to my dad in and out of the hospital, I was never able to live with him. Now, we can't even visit him because he's high risk and could easily catch COVID, so we're still figuring out how we can see him without risking his health. My mom pulled a stunt last Monday. She left with her husband for a week to have them time. She didn't say anything to me or any of the other kids until I called her asking where she was. She didn't even leave any money for us to shop for food. Yes, she left during a freaking pandemic. She returned literally an hour ago, 12 a.m., and I blew up at her because I missed work all week and might get fired. I missed practice and risked getting kicked off the team. And the 3 oldest kids, not my bio sisters, were so horribly behaved the entire week. I told her they're not my responsibility for one, and she knows I'm not comfortable babysitting anyone's kids except my sisters. I told her the next time she and her husband wanted them time to lock themselves in their room rather than leaving and being inconsiderate. She started crying and said I'm making her feel like a bad mom when she didn't do anything wrong. My aunt called me and said I'm grown and need to get over my little girl feelings and apologize to my mom because I was mean for no reason. I said I had a reason to be mean and I wasn't apologizing. I'm only now writing this because I feel like maybe I was over the top and a-hole-ish. So, am I the a-hole? Now, for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your mother was incredibly responsible. You have no obligation to tend to your younger siblings or the stepkids. Those children are her and her husband's responsibility. By leaving them like that, she was certainly behaving like a bad mom. Honestly, you would have been within your rights to call social services and report abandoned children, because that is what she did. She just walked away from a bunch of minor children without making any sort of arrangements for their care. She didn't even leave food for them. That is a failure for her most basic duty as a mother. You are your own person. You're not an extension of her. You don't have to fill in for her whenever she feels like abdicating mother duties. Honestly, you would have been within your rights to call social services and report abandoned children. Absolutely. If she does it again, call CPS. At the very least, She needs to tell the person babysitting that they're babysitting. And make sure the kids have food. Grapes. This is the most horrifying and irresponsible thing I've ever read. And I'm so mad on behalf of the OP. OP, you are not the a-hole in any way. Is your mother insane? Not the a-hole. This was literally child abandonment. You may be 18, but you can't take care of 7 minors on your own. If she pulls a stunt like this again, you should call CPS. Absolutely this. I work in a related field and can confirm most states would take action to this behavior. OP, you're more of an adult than your mom is, and definitely not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. You're still in school and being made to babysit 7 children, and she has the audacity to say you were mean for being upset at her? Being in trouble for work isn't a little girl problem either. WTF. Edit. I didn't think this called for CPS, and I'm hoping she doesn't do it again so I don't have to call them. Plus, I think they tell who makes a report, and I don't want to go through that. I am saving to move out, but I'm back some money because I had to come out of pocket to order food the first few days, then buy groceries. I also don't want to leave my sisters until at least my baby sister is 17. My cousin, Aunt's daughter, has joined in and called me a child. She's 20, and a bad daughter for making my mom feel bad about having fun. My step-sibling's bio mom is an addict. I don't know any of her info anyways to get in contact with her. Edit 2. So, I told my mom the funds I spent the week she was gone, and she's going to pay me back for that. My boss texted me not to come into work, and I think that translates to I'm fired. So, someone asked why I missed work when my sisters could have watched them. Well, the 7, 8, and 10 years old have online school and needs help with the class setup and doing work, and my sisters have to go to their classes too. I see someone suggest I get custody of my sisters and live with my dad after isolation. I like that idea, and I'll have to talk to him about that. I will think about the CPS issue. The whole thing is just terrifying. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom I'm not giving her any baby updates? I'm 32 weeks pregnant with my second baby. Last scan was diagnosed with a defect showing left lung isn't growing well. Heart's not in the right spot and will require intubation and ventilation at birth and surgery shortly after. This means NICU time as well. We told our parents when we found out. My in-laws offered support and asked if we were going to make this news public. I said I'm waiting for follow-up tests to see how severe the prognosis is. I'm a very private person and hate putting my life out there to elicit sympathy. They asked if they could tell any of their friends if they ask how the pregnancy's going. They have a very tight-knit group who raised families together, and it isn't uncommon to share this type of news with each other. I told my mother-in-law that I don't mind if she discusses it with some of her closer friends because they've been indirectly involved in our life through her. Many brought meals when my first was born and checked on me when I was going through postnatal depression and anxiety. 2 days after the diagnosis, I got messages out of the blue from my family, who I haven't spoken to in years. The extent of our relationship is the occasional reaction to a post in social media, but never messages or questions about my life. Some of the messages were straight up to the point, "Your mom said something was wrong with your baby?" With questions that I don't have answers to, but others were like, "It's been a while. How are you?" Since I don't have that type of relationship with them, I kept it to small talk. I called mom and blew up at her. Said she didn't have the right to share my news, that I'd said that since I don't have all the answers, I don't want to be hounded with questions. I've been trying to avoid Dr. Google essays to avoid a million different scenarios. I didn't think I needed to ask to keep this to herself because it's personal in nature. She said, "I just sent out a message asking for prayer. So-and-so's a nurse said you need to go see X specialist for another opinion. You're being extremely selfish and ungrateful towards people who want to support you." Then ended with, "F it. Since you can't appreciate support and don't value a lifeline, just let me know when your baby's born. I don't want to hear anything else." I said that worked for me. Now I'm getting calls from family saying that I've really upset her, that I should let her know how things are going because she's really stressed out about her granddaughter. Part of me thinks I may have overreacted, and my husband said that I was so different to his parents than I was to her, but I genuinely appreciated that his parents asked permission about how much they were allowed to disclose, whereas my mom instantly made it all about her pain and worry. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. It's really unfortunate that you and your baby are going through this. It's not fair your mother broke your boundaries and is allowing her family to guilt trip you. You're freaking pregnant. The last thing any pregnant person needs is stress and turmoil, let alone someone with a difficult pregnancy. If they can't respect boundaries, they get put on a tighter leash. If mom is worried about her granddaughter, she can support her by not being an a-hole and stressing you out. She said it herself. Only tell her when baby is born. So if that's what she wants, it's her own fault. Stay strong for the baby. I hope you both have a safe pregnancy. My husband said that I was so different to his parents than I was to her. Something tells me there's more to this if her husband brings this up. There's two sides to every story. Am I the a-hole? No. But, as a fellow expecting mother in a current and high-risk pregnancy, let me tell you that this isn't really, or rather ought not to be, about you being angry with your mom and annoyed with your previously distanced family for now showing up with a million questions and unsolicited advice. Don't get me wrong, that stuff is all truly agitating, but it's not what you should be focused on. Focus on yourself and the life you are carrying. Do what works for you. Stay away from social media. Don't answer the phone or texts if you don't want to talk. Be selfish. You have the right and the obligation to be selfish right now. If you are happy with your team of treating physicians, stay the course and put your trust in them. If you have doubts, seek out referrals from known and trusted sources and feel empowered to make whatever changes to your medical team you need to in order to feel the most comforted during this time of uncertainty and distress. Not an a-hole, but also don't worry about it. Worry about taking care of you and yours. I'm sending you strength and support. Just let me know when your baby is born. I don't want to hear anything else. If she didn't mean it, she shouldn't have said it. All you did was agree with her, not the a-hole. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my brother that my niece and nephew weren't the first things on my mind when shopping for home decor? Okay, so I finally got to move back into my apartment and properly furnish it and decorate it. I had a damn good time buying a bunch of stuff, especially plants. I spent all weekend decorating my apartment and liked the outcome of it. I posted pictures on social media of my favorite rooms, living room and my bedroom. In the living room, I have plants up, a rather large bookshelf, and on the lower shelves are my trophies. You know, not baby-friendly. My apartment isn't baby-proofed at all, and won't be until I decide I want a baby. My brother called me and asked to see my apartment, so I showed him all of it. He seemed hesitant about something, so I asked what the problem was, and he said, "It's nice, but that's not exactly child-friendly." I was confused and asked him to elaborate. He says, "Well, what if niece and nephew spends the weekend over? They'll ruin everything because they have easy access to it." Instantly, I got annoyed. Like, I understand his point, but my thought process wasn't, maybe I shouldn't get this because niece can get into it easily. It was me buying things I want because I liked it. So I told him that, I said, niece and nephew weren't the first things I thought about while shopping, and he hung up on me. My sister-in-law messaged me a super passive-aggressive text and ended it with, "Glad to know you care about your niece and nephew's well-being." I've been sitting on this since yesterday because initially I felt I was in the right, but I sort of feel like the a-hole for what I told him. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I feel bad not replying to everyone, but the most asked is if I watched them on weekends before I moved. Yes and no. I watched them when they visited my mom and I still live at home. Other than that, I didn't. And I never told them I'd watch the kids when I moved. And my niece is 5 and nephew is 3. Not the a-hole. When I was a kid and I wanted to spend a weekend with my grandparents, they traded houses with my parents because our home was kid-friendly and theirs were not. Sounds like they wanted to impose rather than have you spend quality time with them. Man, this is genius. Not an a-hole. Sounds like your brother and his wife are either annoyed that you're not an option for free babysitting, or that how dare you not think your niece and nephew are the most important things on the planet. The fact he went instantly talking about them staying with you shows it's likely the former. I definitely got the "could the kids stay with you this weekend while we do grown-up stuff" vibe from this, yes. Not an a-hole. What a ridiculous attitude for them to take. Do they expect a single adult to have baby bumpers and covered outlets on the occasional chance that their cherubs graze the place? Edited to add, single as in childless, not commenting on your social life. Yeah, the baby-proofed tools all around, and they expect me to have baby toys around for their entertainment when they come over. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister I won't move across the country with her or take care of my nephew anymore? A little backstory. I'm female 26. When I was 16, my mom moved her and myself across the world, UK to US, to be with my sister as she was going through IVF. I lost all my friends and drifted apart from family. I'm 26 now and finally really happy living here. I love my nephew. He's my best friend. I was technically his nanny for about a year and we are super close. Usually if I'm not working, I'm with him. Camping trips, theme park trips, adventures together. If my nephew wasn't part of the equation, I probably wouldn't even speak to my sister. Now she's decided they want to leave the state we live in and move to the other side of the country. And she expects us all to go. She's been asking me for almost 2 weeks. She's had my mom asking me, but I don't want to. I'm an adult, and I will not have my life thrown into absolute chaos for her again. So I told her this as she was badgering me to move with them. She called me a dramatic witch and said I'm being completely unreasonable and it would be nice to have a change. I told her no, and if she's really planning on moving and taking my nephew, then she cannot rely on me for childcare anymore because it's going to break both mine and my nephew's hearts when we are separated and not 15 minutes away from each other. Now I'm the family villain, and barely anybody's speaking to me because I'm so dramatic and rude. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not an a-hole. Your sister wants to move and expects you to move as well so you can provide childcare? Is she nuts? You don't have to disrupt your life just so her life is easier. Why on earth is your family calling you dramatic? I take it your sister is the favorite child? Well, the mom moved the family to another country for her, so I think it's safe to say she's definitely the golden child. Not the a-hole. It's your life. You're not a child anymore. Your mom and sister have no right to uproot you. They don't even say why they want to move, so I'm guessing it's not a good one like a fantastic job opportunity. I know you'll be heartbroken to be parted from your little buddy, but it seems that the only reason they want you to move is to continue the free childcare. Be free, OP. Live life on your terms. Not at a-hole. No wonder you say you would have nothing to do with your sister if it weren't for your nephew. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe. First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my rich parents that my lower class friends and their families are better people than they could ever dream of being? I'll start by saying that I'm a 17 male. Both my parents are very successful lawyers, and we live in a super nice house. They have given me everything I could ask for, but they're not exactly there for me emotionally. I can't even remember the last time we ate dinner together or had a decent conversation. Most of the time, they're not even home, and it's just me, and I feel like a ghost in my own house. We moved to a new town not too long ago, and my parents enrolled me in a more exclusive private school in the area. I've gone to private schools my entire life, but my experience at the school was horrible. I'm short, effeminate-looking, and very obviously gay. The only reason I didn't get my butt seriously kicked was because my parents are rich. I begged my parents to switch schools, but they were hesitant because the only other option was public schooling. I finally escaped a private school of circle jerking and enrolled in this new school. I guess I should mention that a few years ago, this school district expanded their enrollment zone to slightly cover a lower income area, which resulted in a handful of students from low-income families being enrolled. My first few days at the school were brutal, with a lot of the same problems following me, until I ran into Garfield. It's a family name. I swear he's not named after a cat. He spoke up and said he would love to be my lab partner when no one else would. We quickly became friends, and he introduced me to his childhood friend also attending the school, named Eduardo. Since my parents are so distant to begin with, they never noticed me spending so much time with my new friends. Garfield's mother is a waitress, and his dad a construction worker. Eduardo's mother cleans houses, and his dad works odd jobs, such as driving for Uber. Both of their families are amazing and involved. Also, both Garfield and Eduardo have come over to my house about twice and met my parents. The other day, my mother pulled me over and casually mentioned that I was spending a lot of time with that blonde boy, Garfield, and Hispanic kid. She asked what their families did and where they lived, and I told her. She immediately became upset and said I was aiming way below my abilities, and these were not the kind of influences I need in my life. I asked why, and she said we just live different types of lives, and I'll understand when I'm older. I freaked out and said both of them and their families have been there for me the 6 months I've known them than my parents ever have, and that they're cold and feeling snobs. My mom started crying and said public school has changed me for the worst. I've never seen her cry before, and I'm starting to feel horrible. Am I the a-hole for saying they're rich hypocrites and that my friends' families are better? Now for the top comments. Wow, not the a-hole at all. I'm sorry your mom is hurt, but not being involved in her kid's life obviously has consequences. And being so judgmental of people with less money doesn't put her in a good light at all, especially if she's encouraging you to not be friends with people who've been so kind to you. I'm glad you have your friends. And full offense, I'm glad you're not a snob. Thanks for saying that. It just makes me so angry. She's judging them by their class and their parents' income level, and I feel like I can't do anything. Not the a-hole. I am sorry, but your family's now laying in the bed they created. Emotional involvement and basic body needs are completely irrelevant from each other. You cannot feed a dog by petting it, and you cannot make it friendly by dropping food randomly. Now, add the complexity of a human being on top of that, and the mistake is obvious. If I were you, I would say that your emotional needs are unmet, and the family needs a family counselor / child therapist, etc. If he / she is a professional, he will cut through your parents. Even if your friends were rich, it wouldn't change anything. Their class is irrelevant. You're not changing because of waitress profession. Give your parents a chance to fix this. That's a really good way of putting it. And I honestly think we do need help, but we don't really know how to relate to each other. I don't know. My dad is furious with me and not open to any discussion. Not an a-hole by a mile. Being an absent elitist parent is what caused their hurt feelings. Thinking that all you needed was their financial support is what made them a-holes. I'm sorry that your parents haven't been present and involved in your life, and I'm glad you found friends that you can enjoy the company of. Hopefully, your parents can see that they need to be more involved in you emotionally, but I doubt it. They'll likely try to separate you from what they consider bad influences. I hope they won't separate us, but I think they've been discussing it. But there's really no other place for me to go since their first school choice for me resulted in horrendous bullying. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for backing up my sister on a choice for child raising? So, as a bit of backstory, my sister plans to adopt. Somehow it came up in conversation that my mom will be happy to help their kid learn math since she helped so much with me and my sister. Well, my mom is not a very good teacher. By high school, my sister and I dreaded bringing home math homework because mom wanted to help. And she would lose her temper, mock us, make us do extra math problems if we weren't understanding it enough, swear, get angry that we didn't do it the second we got home, when she wasn't home lol. Say you should love this, and make us feel ashamed by saying, I could be doing this, but no. So as a result, we tried our hardest to get this done at school or without having to ask her. Unfortunately, she would often inject herself in to help if she saw us doing homework, and if we said, no, we got this, would not listen. My sister said, actually, you were a pretty big source of anxiety for me and my brother because of math. So I think it would be better if we handled it if our kid has chronic math problems. Mom was devastated. As soon as I came in, Mom asked if she really helped me out with math. I backed up my sister and explained that Mom caused a lot of anxiety to us. To the point I had legit panic attacks when Mom saw I was working in math problems in college. Well, I calmly explained that Mom was not a good math teacher, and she lost it. Reddit, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. It sounds like you both voiced this to your mom in a perfectly respectful way. Sounds like mom needs a little more self-awareness. Mom needs to understand that her memories don't dictate other people's as well. Or her feelings. Just because she thinks she's the best math teacher and that they all had so much fun all those years, doesn't mean everybody feels that way. Or that they have to / are wrong not to. That's a really self-centered and narcissistic thing to act on. I wonder if this is the only thing she projects and overshadows her experiences on, or if there are other instances in Opie's life that Mom invalidates memories and opinions about. I bet there is more. And Mom is probably going to bring them up and make a big deal out of every instance for a while. If my mother's any indication, be prepared, Opie. The storm may only have just started. Interestingly, I had a similar discussion with my mom. She did something she was advised to do, however, the action to this day affects me. She for a bit refused to accept that regardless of anything else, or even if it was the best option, it still hurt me. She did apologize, which is a step forward for both of us. Hopefully, Opie's mom will realize regardless of how helpful she thought she was, she still hurt Opie and their sister. Not Dayhall. Don't ask questions you don't want to know the answer to. OMG, I tell this to my mother all the time. I warn her, hey, in all honesty, and then crap hits the fan. But better to be hurt by the truth than comforted by a lie. Also, not Dayhall. The mother needed to remove her narc blindfold. Not Dayhall. It's a bit astounding that she genuinely believed she was good when there was swearing and yelling involved. Next story. Am I the a-hole for blowing up on my stepdaughter for demanding the same expensive gift I got my daughter? So, due to a whole lot of TV show-worthy drama that's occurred in the last year, I now have a daughter who I never knew existed. It's a long story, and we don't have the word count for it, but I'll try to put in the information that's relevant. I, 47 male, have 2 sons, 30, 27, and 1 daughter, Lila, 22. I met my daughter before quarantine began, and because of lockdown, she ended up living with me and my sons when my state shut down. So over this time, we got extremely close. My wife died about 10 years ago, and it's only recently, 2 years, that I started dating my now girlfriend, 47 female, Kate. Kate has a daughter, Abby, 22 female, who I've known since she was a child. But we are not married, and Abby has a father who has always had majority custody of her. I'm friendly with Abby the way a parent's friend would be, but we do not have a stepdaughter/stepfather relationship. Last week, it was Lila's birthday, and we decided to have a small get-together. A few family members and Kate/Abby. I decided to get Lila something she has been telling me about forever. She told me she has always wanted a charm bracelet, one where she gets new charm on special occasions, something that is meaningful. She has gone on and on about this, so I decided to get her one for her birthday. I ended up getting her a gold Tiffany charm bracelet with a gold locket charm that was engraved with her birthday and name, and inside was a picture of our little family. Her brothers also got her some gold charms that were also engraved with special messages. When she opened it, she cried, and it was a very touching moment for our family. Well, afterwards, Abby came to me and asked when she would get hers, since this is a family thing that all girls will get a charm bracelet. I let her know this was just a special present for Lila, but on her next birthday, I would get her a different bracelet, not charm bracelet. I thought that was it, until later when Lila came to me crying that Abby tried to take her bracelet because she's more family than Lila is, and Lila didn't deserve a family gift because of this. I assured Lila that Abby was wrong, and she was my daughter and a very important part of our family. This is the part where I may be the a-hole. I took Abby aside and lost it. I told her she was not my daughter, and that she needed to leave Lila alone or she wouldn't be allowed over again. This, of course, made her mother upset, and they both think I'm the a-hole. Lila also feels really bad because of everything that happened. I'm okay with Abby thinking I'm an a-hole, but I don't want Lila to ever think that way of me. And everyone involved is biased, so I'm here to get an unbiased opinion. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Abby isn't your daughter, and she just tried to steal your daughter's present and was horribly ugly to her. Her mother is wrong. Her daughter was wrong. Stand your ground. This. Please do your daughter a favor and don't subject her to Abby anymore. Abby could not have been more mean and childish. Abby isn't your family, and I hope for your children's sake she never is. Not a-hole. Not a-hole. First off, 22 is old enough to know that just because someone else gets something, it doesn't mean she is entitled to get one too. Second, Abby isn't family, at least not yet. You're dating her mother, not married to her, and that is on top of the fact that she has lived with her father most of the time and has very little relationship with you. Third, Abby had no right to try to take Lila's bracelet. Again, she is a freaking adult and should know better. Not a-hole. The 22-year-old daughter of your girlfriend tried to steal your bracelet off the wrist of a member of your family. Abby, who you've known for all her life, suddenly has someone who's your real daughter appear in your life. It's understandable that might trigger jealousy without even getting to pandemic-constrained living conditions. But none of that is enough to excuse trying to rip a bracelet off someone else while telling her she last member of the family. Your fury is understandable. It would have been better not to have gone to the "you're not my daughter" line. But hell, she's a 22-year-old adult who should be able to process the fact that she seriously provoked you. The pandemic-constrained living situation doesn't even apply here. I probably would have been more understanding if it had. I haven't seen or spoken to Abby since she was 13, since she lives all the way across the country. Her mother doesn't even live with us since our relationship is still new. What provoked me the most was that Lila had been having a hard time transitioning and figuring all of this out. Lila spent her last 21 years of life believing she had no family. It's been a lot of hard work and therapy reassuring her she has a family now. So for Abby to go and say something so cruel and uncalled for, when this is the first time I've seen her in 9 years, really provoked the worst in me. I just really needed to protect my daughter in that moment. The last story is titled, "Am I the a-hole for telling my stepmom I don't like it when she calls me her daughter?" So my dad has him, stepmom, her daughter 14 female, and me 16 female, in family therapy. We started going after almost 10 years of them being married because this is not the family they wanted. They wanted the stepkids to accept the step-parents as like equal parents, and they hoped it would all blend so well we would like be a nuclear family versus a blended one. But that has not happened because her daughter has an active and involved dad, while I just never wanted to call another woman my mom. And so, we're in therapy because it is very much like we're roommates instead of one family. And that's not an issue for us, the kids, except maybe the siblings we share. But my dad and stepmom hate it. So the therapist asked us to say something we didn't like that each person does. And while we were doing it, I said I hate it when my stepmom calls me her daughter because it makes me uncomfortable. This led to being asked why, and I said because I didn't think of her as my mom, and it felt like I was being pushed to reciprocate the feeling. This has been an issue ever since. The same with her daughter saying she hates when my dad tries to spend time with her because she already has a dad. Her mom had a huge issue with her saying that. But yeah, apparently what I said was really mean and hurts her feelings, and I'm trying to dictate what she says when I say something like that in therapy, which is toxic and abusive. So I don't know, trying to find out what others think. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. She's not your mom, and you're allowed to feel how you feel about it. Therapy is one place where you're supposed to be able to freely express yourself. It is pretty a-hole-ish of them to try to make you feel bad about it. Exactly. Even if it was toxic, which it isn't, therapy is the right place to say it because the therapist can mediate and help turning it into the right direction and away from being toxic. The parents are just hurt, and I think Opie should tell the therapist exactly what happened after the last session. Not the a-hole. Your feelings are entirely valid in this case. Just because some people might react differently, and just because your father and stepmother wants things to be different, doesn't make your feelings wrong or even extreme. It is also of concern that you are being judged for something said honestly in a therapeutic context. But that takes me to the key point. I think this belongs in therapy and not in the hands of Reddit strangers. Can you erase this in your next therapy session? And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe.